Well, I think I can pretty much confirm that all of these high voltage caps are original. Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Going to be starting on another vintage TV restoration. This is an Admiral Model 19A15. It's the wood cabinet version of the 7-inch Electrostatic Set. There's the Admiral name. Kind of faded, but maybe we can save what's left of that. We'll see. Bezel still looks pretty good around the CRT. That gold paint. Knobs look to be in good shape, which need to be cleaned. Grill cloth's a little torn there on the left side, so we'll see about that. There is grill cloth available we could use in its place if we have to. This set was 1949 model. Lots of these Admiral sets around in electrostatic 7-inch with wood cabinets and then some plastic cabinets. They sold quite a few of these. This cabinet looks kind of like a maple color. It's pretty light, the finish is. And yes, it's rough. But I don't see any big gouges and dings, veneer that's split out, broken off. So I think we can make that look a lot better when we get to that point. So let's take a look at the back and see what's going on there. This is a 19A1-S-A. There's our controls, and they are all marked. Looks like all the tubes seem to be there. Speaker looks okay. And on the bottom we see model is a 19A15S. S probably is maybe the color of the cabinet. And there's our tube layout. And of course the 7JP4. I'm going to pull these screws out of the chassis and we'll pull it out and we'll take a look underneath it. First we'll take the knobs off. Those are in really good shape. Just dirty. And we've even got the felt on the back of that one. And that one too. Had a regular screw here in the top, so taking it out. And we've got X-Lite number 10, 5/16 head screws here on the other three. The CRT is fastened onto the chassis. It feels like it's pretty secure. Just want to go easy. Lay it back down. We have a speaker plug right here. I think that's all we need to unplug to get it out. And inside the cabinet, the speaker looks like it's in good shape. No damage to the cone, doesn't look like. And other than a little bit of dirt and a ladybug, it was pretty good. Moved it and it fell through the ventilation hole, so she'd been in there a while, I'd say. So now let's look at the chassis. And not bad, just a little dirt on top there. That'll clean up pretty nice. I think we're about to lose our strap here on the CRT. I don't think that's stock. But there again, maybe it is. It's holding the shield together. We'll do some research on that and see. Alright, let's tip the chassis up and look underneath and see what kind of surprises we can find under there. Well, I'm just looking around here to see if I can see any previous work that's been done on this. Looking at these high voltage caps in this area, looks like factory joints right here. That's been changed, this cap. You can see the connection right there. That one's definitely been changed. And that one too had a lead put on it, looks like, going down to that tube socket. So those two red ones have been changed. That looks like that belongs there. That's a factory wrap. I don't see any, that hasn't been removed. Those look good. I think all of these look stock here. Maybe that one. You can see where they've melted the wire underneath the connection here. See that wire's insulation's melted. We're going to change all of these anyway, so it really doesn't matter. Just like to always look and see what I'm up against. That wire, you would think that has been added, but I don't believe it has. It looks like it's like a factory wrap right there. Maybe a revision or some sort. But even down here, if they replaced it, they done a good job of wrapping it back like the factory would have. So I don't see any major surprises under the chassis, and that's good. The old large tuner like these used. No shielding on the bottom, just around the perimeter. So next step, we'll check this CRT, see if it tests okay. If it doesn't, we have some spares, but we'd like to use this one if we can. So let's check it out. Our trusty CR70 Syncor is hooked up using the universal socket. And 1 and 14 are the filaments, 2 is cathode, 3 G1, and pin 9 G2. And it's about 20 minutes since I first hooked it up, and we're well up into good now. So I think this tube will produce a picture. We'll do the life test. Dropping a little. Not too bad. Let's do our test with the cutoff. I think you can see it there. See a little white image on the screen, or the little white square on the screen, so that's a good sign. I was wondering if this was original to the set, this clamp, and yes indeed it is. That's the way these came. That clamp held that shield on. So that's original. The tube itself, it's an RCA, which is probably what they used in most sets. A lot of RCA electrostatic tubes out there, so this could be an original tube. Would be nice if we had a legible code date. That looks like a 9-17, so 1949, that would make sense, as this is a 49 model set. I would say that this is the original. One thing I have determined on this chassis, you notice this power transformer setting at an angle. That tells me this is a later revision of this chassis, because they found that if they turned this transformer at an angle rather than just straight, it would reduce the interference in the picture. So, late revision chassis. Normally I wouldn't try this, but because the chassis looks so original, except for just 2 or 3 of those paper caps, I'm going to do a power up and we'll see if we get anything at all. Hoping for maybe some sound, even if we don't have any kind of a deflection or raster. So I have my 3-inch CRT hooked up, modulator coupled directly into the antenna input. Have my speaker plugged up. It's original speaker out of the cabinet. So let's see if we get anything. Because we have the Syncor power right, it's safe to do this, because if anything bad happens, this will trip out. We won't have to worry about doing any damage, further damage to the chassis. So we're going to go about 100 volts. We'll see if we get anything. Turn the power switch on. Well, that's a good sign. We went up and current and came right back down. Now once the tubes light up, if this is going to work, our current should start to climb, and there it goes. Hear a little bit of rushing noise. Well, we have some sound. It's weak, but it's encouraging. And we have some deflection. It's like a lot of things out of proportion there and not enough deflection. I can hear a buzz in the speaker. Of course, that's electrolytic hum. I'm sure they all need to be replaced, but let's tip the chassis up and we'll check some high voltage and see what we're running there. Good easy test point right there. And we got 2,000 or 3,000 volts. Yeah, I'd say a couple of thousand volts, so that's too low. Alright, we'll turn everything off. The first thing I'll do is check all the tubes, and then I think changing these high voltage caps will be the next thing in order. That should get it up to where it needs to be, or close anyway, and see if we make any improvements on the raster or the screen, and then we'll tackle the paper caps after that. Well, I think I can pretty much confirm that all of these high voltage caps are original. Look at that number 64A7-1. And if we look on our parts list, 64A7-1, and then 64A7-2s in here right there. 001s, 64A7-2. So definitely original high voltage caps. And thought this interesting too, right here. This paper cap, that looks to me like a factory connection on both ends. And even though that's upside down, Dumont, New York. So just the value and the voltage on these tan colored plastic caps here. They're paper, but they're encased in plastic. And that's a Sprague, but again, looks like a factory connection. There's another Dumont, New York right there. That's an Ajax there. So, like most manufacturers back when this was made, they used whatever vendor they could find for the caps. In this case, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 different brands. Well, there's a Chicago Electric. So that's 5. Depending on what kind of high voltage caps I have that I can use in this, I may try to restuff these. Be nice to keep that original. Here's the caps I use when I restore these old vintage TVs. I have a kit. These are all 600 volt, and I have the 6,000 volts in the very front. But I wanted to show you what I have here for the high voltage caps. I have some. These are 001. I have 5 of those, and I like these because of the long leads, and these would work great if I want to restuff those high voltage caps. Now, the only thing I have in the 0047s, that's what these are. They're 6 kV caps, but leads aren't quite long enough, and I will go ahead and use these to see if we can get our deflection working correctly. Then we'll decide from that point whether we need to get some or just try to go with these. That's going to wrap up part 1 of my Admiral TV restore. So check back in part 2 when we start replacing those high voltage caps, and hopefully move on to the paper caps. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in part 2. Well, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, how about giving us a like and subscribing to our channel? Thanks.